Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you today about sustainability. What it is and where to start if you have not yet begun your journey. I'm sure that a number of you will already be well down that journey though. My name is Richard Williamson and I'm the COO of Considerate Group. Very briefly, Considerate Group is a specialist data-led sustainability consultancy that helps hotels and hospitality businesses worldwide to operate more sustainably and responsibly through bespoke technical and advisory services. We've been working in this field for more than 10 years, supporting hotels and hospitality businesses in a range of ways, including data monitoring, strategy development and implementation, training and workshops. We work with a range of clients, from single hotels to boutique hotel chains, as well as the major international brands. And the majority of our clients are in the UK and Europe, although we're also now expanding in the Middle East and the Americas. To pick out a couple of names, we've been working with Lincolnshire County Council on a sustainable tourism strategy. And also one of our longest serving clients is the island of Mystique, who need to manage the sustainability of an entire island ecosystem, very much off-grid. Other names include Sofitel, Eden Group, Rosewood and Hoxton. So we've got a good variety of hotels and locations. The three building blocks of our business are our consultancy services, Conserve, our cloud-based desktop platform, and Flutter, an energy-saving app. And Conserve is really the heart of the business. As was talked about in the last session, a data platform, establishing a baseline data is absolutely essential. So a data platform that collects and monitors waste data in hotels, monitoring electricity, gas, water, plastics, as well as other relevant waste streams, is essential. And we encourage every hotel we work with to install Conserve or an equivalent data platform as a starting point. And so this informs our data-led consultancy services, where we just develop bespoke ESG frameworks for hotels and support them to achieve their desired accreditation. And again, as was discussed in the last session, there is an absolute multitude of accreditation out there, so we'll come on to that a bit later. Our support is very hands-on, helping to secure the buy-in of the hotel team and support implementation. So not just putting together a dry strategy and leaving the client to it, but helping them implement that strategy. And finally, Flutter is our mobile data platform designed specifically for the UK hospitality sector. A simple, uncluttered, intuitive, easy-to-use interface. And this will be a mobile complement to Conserve that we expect to launch next year. So today I'll be talking through our what sustainability is, why it matters to your hotel, and where to start your journey if you have not yet done so. I'll then touch briefly on the wide range of certifications out there, some of which you may have considered looking at already. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at the end. And I think I'll be in the sort of suite on the left-hand side at the end of the session. So firstly, what is sustainability? There's a wealth of explanations and definitions, but one of the most commonly used is this one from the Brundtland Report from 1987. Sustainability is concerned with protecting the planet, helping climate change and promoting social and economic development without endangering life on Earth or leaving anyone behind. It is inclusive. Commonly in business terms these days, we also often refer to sustainability, or ESG, environmental, social and governance, which captures the three key elements of sustainability. Environmental considerations, what we're doing to the environment, both locally and globally. Social considerations, i.e. impact on the community and the workforce and engagement. And governance, effective management, transparency and accountability. And these considerations need to be applied thoroughly, consistently and transparently through implementation. So why does sustainability matter? It simply cannot be ignored anymore. From an environmental perspective, climate change is the big issue hovering over us all. The increase in temperature on the planet is causing increasing challenges, both social and environmental. Limiting the increase has become a focus of governments worldwide through the Paris Agreement, a global agreement on how to deal with greenhouse gas emission mitigation, adaptation and finance. And this motivates efforts to limit the global average temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. I will also touch upon the risks of not embracing sustainability, and risks range from climate risks to popular tourism destinations, to extreme weather events, to the financial risk of stranded assets. And reporting requirements from SFDR, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, to TCFR, SBTI, GRI, the EU taxonomy, and multiple other acronyms. Increasing legislation is coming. For example, the latest climate law in Spain restricts the use of air conditioning, and more regulation is coming. Increasing costs, particularly energy and staff costs. And of course, guests. Guests care, and they will always have increasing demands and expectations from the hotels that they choose to stay at. And it is a choice, so therefore it is a competitive market. This chart shows visually where we are with global warming. Temperature change on the vertical axis and time on the horizontal axis, stretching from 1880 on the left to 2021 on the right. And we all experienced the severe weather wave, the heat wave this summer, and Europe has just come out of the biggest drought in 500 years. So this could be just the beginning of what's to come. And the UK is not immune. If there's any doubt after this summer, the UK is seeing its share of changes as well, with rising temperatures, changing and less predictable rainfall patterns, flooding, coastal erosion, and wildfires. So what is happening at a global level? The first COP, Convention of the Parties, was held in Berlin in 1995 and is now held annually. The annual COP conference has regularly put in place or brought on new challenges and new frameworks. COP21 in 2015 led to the Paris Agreement, which is where the Sustainable Development Goals come from. And from a tourism perspective, more specifically, COP26 in Glasgow last year brought about the Glasgow Declaration, a voluntary commitment which asks tourism organisations to support halving emissions by 2030. Signatories include a range of sustainability organisations, such as ourselves, and a number of the certification organisations I'll also be talking about later, such as Green Globe, Green Key, and large hotel groups such as Accor and Iberostar, along with travel agencies such as Expedia. So in the context of net zero hotels, what does net zero actually mean? Firstly, it means the reduction of as many greenhouse gas emissions as possible, both directly from the hotel and also through the supply chain. And secondly, it then means offsetting emissions by investing in nature and technologies that will remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And in order to address a global problem, which affects all nations worldwide, the UN came up with 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which can be seen as a global language to address issues together. We always refer to these as the international language of sustainability, and they are all interconnected. So businesses often align their sustainability strategies and goals to the UN SDGs to show how they relate to the bigger picture that we're all seeking to address. And we in the hotel tourism sector can do a lot to integrate some of these goals into our ambitions. Tourism has the potential to contribute directly or indirectly to all the goals. In particular, it has been included as specific targets in the following SDGs. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. And Goal 14, life below water. But this slide shows clearly that tourism has a very key and interconnected role to play when it comes to the successful adoption of the sustainability goals internationally. Tourism touches on all manner of issues, from education and employment, diversity, to resource use and allocation, energy efficiency, protecting the local environment, to urban development and the digital revolution. Tourism has a part to play and will benefit from each of these transformations as we head towards net zero. And tourism and hospitality have a significant impact on global emissions, and therefore a leading role to play in reducing them. The industry is responsible for 8% of global carbon emissions overall, from plane flights and boat rides to souvenirs and lodging, 331 million tonnes of CO2 annually. But we also contribute as an industry to other global issues. 14% of all global solid waste is produced by tourists. Tourism is a large contributor to biodiversity loss, degradation of nature and marine plastic. And tourism is responsible for 12% of Europe's total food waste, 27 million tonnes of food waste. And the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance suggests that 18% of food bought by hospitality and food service goes to waste. However, tourism is also key to the economic security of many developing countries, and it accounts for 1 in 10 jobs worldwide. So this is not a simple problem. There are benefits and costs. The World Economic Forum also publishes an annual risk report which tracks the evolution of a set of risks in 5 key areas over a 10-year timeframe, as to which poses the greatest risk to global growth and progress. And the 5 areas are economic, geopolitical, environment, society and technology. And this annual risk report is based on data collected from world business leaders. In the latest iteration of the top 10 risks identified in 2021, 8 relate to sustainability. 5 are environmental and 3 are social. 10 years ago, the report identified only 1 environmental threat as material. So that sort of indicates how much the environment and sustainability has risen up the agenda over the last 10 years. So what is the financial incentive to address climate change? Driven by tightening regulation, there is a need to tackle ESG and foster investment in energy efficiency. There is a risk that many of the worst performing properties will become stranded assets that will fail to meet future energy efficiency standards, with an energy upgrade no longer viable. As we all know, buildings are expensive, long-lived assets. From a sustainability standpoint, it is therefore not attractive to knock them down and build back better, but far better to improve the existing asset infrastructure. And this requires timely investment. Once you decide to invest in sustainability, there are a wide range of compliance and reporting frameworks to decide from. Some of these you can choose to adhere to, while others will be mandatory. National legislation continues to tighten and is only likely to continue to do so. The UK became the first G20 country to make reporting against TCFD compulsory for large businesses. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you about the increasing cost of running a hotel. Staff recruitment is difficult, as is retention. Energy costs are spiralling, and general costs are also rising. There is sometimes a perception that being sustainable is an expense, and we would argue that ultimately it is about operating more efficiently for the long term. There may be a short-term investment requirement, but in the long term, this investment should yield savings to the business. On the energy side, simply understanding where your consumption comes from and educating your teams in energy efficiency behaviours is a fantastic starting point. And this, again, echoes what was said in the last panel: start simply and build from there. This case study is an example from one of our clients, and the savings they made through 12 months of using our energy efficiency platform, Conserve, is highlighted in the text. The savings were brought about primarily by locking in and understanding the factors impacting consumption and making simple changes such as engaging green teams. And we commonly find operational energy savings of up to 20% can be made with a focus solely on behavioural change and consumption. Adopting a clear sustainability agenda and improving working conditions and governance will attract talented, motivated and qualified staff and reduce employee turnover. Employing from within the local community can help with staff retention, reliability, HR costs and foster a sense of place. And hotels must invest in the education, healthcare and training of their staff. Where necessary, also look after their families. And the impact of changing guest expectations demanding action on sustainability should not be overlooked. If your hotel and your brand do not resonate with changing consumer expectations, they'll simply head elsewhere. Whereas if they do resonate, you open up the opportunity for repeat guest visits. And guest expectations mean that environmental action is now an ever increasing priority. But we would also argue that action must be taken in an honest way, an honest and meaningful way, so as not to either damage your reputation or fall foul of the law. Accusations of greenwashing increase as more and more companies talk about being eco-friendly, eco-conscious or green without the evidence or the substance to back up those claims. For example, recently H&M have been instructed to remove sustainability claims from their clothing brands in both the Netherlands and Norway after having been found to have misled consumers. And Decathlon has also been in the firing line. So greenwashing is in the regulators' sights and brands will be damaged by non-compliance. So, you've decided you want to do something about ESG and sustainability. Okay, so where should you start? And as I said earlier, the answer is always to do something small, as some businesses and management teams have become paralysed because they want to do everything at once and they don't know where to start. But in our experience, it is far better to just start and iterate and build an understanding. And by understanding where you're at and starting small, you can make an impact over time. And then as you learn, it becomes far easier to incrementally improve your approach year on year. And I think that's what this is about. Establish a baseline, make changes, understand what you need to do, and move forward at your own pace. Sustainability is a huge subject, and Rome was not built in a day. So if you've decided to embrace sustainability and work on making an impact, you need to start somewhere. When we work with clients, we take these steps with them to help define where they are, where they want to be, and how they're going to get there. The first step is to know where you are. What information do you already have, and what is already in place? Do you have energy reduction programs, training and development programs, charitable initiatives? Quite often, in conversation with hotels and management teams, we find that they are already doing more than they think, but they're not monitoring or recording actions in a consolidated way, and they're not pulling it together. And this makes it difficult to show progress and maintain motivation through the team. So think about your goals. What do you want to achieve, and why do you want to achieve them? Do you want to make an impact on the local community? Do you want to reduce your carbon footprint? If so, are you monitoring your carbon footprint? There is no one-size-fits-all approach. The route you take and where you start will depend on a number of different factors. Do you have a team in-house who can deliver? If you have dedicated and passionate people in-house, this is an excellent starting point. Do they have the skills and time to be able to carry out the work you want them to achieve? So think about measuring and monitoring. If you're unable to monitor the impact of the work you've done, how can you share your success stories and ensure continual progress and motivation? And focusing on environmental action specifically, the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance has created a pathway for hotels and tourism businesses to follow, called the Pathway to Net Positive. And this was launched last year at COP26 in Glasgow. And for us, it's a very exciting framework, as it is more ambitious than those set out for other sectors, given that it recognises the potential for our industry to have a positive impact, rather than just reaching net zero. And this positive impact is the active role we as hoteliers and tourism leaders can have on the preservation of our environment. Natural assets, which are tourism attractions in themselves, are likely to come under increasing threat from changes to the environment and global warming. But given that many of us rely on those assets to remain intact and attractive, as they're integral to our hospitality offering, we can also play an active part in ensuring those assets are protected, conserved and nurtured, and hence there's a positive impact to what we do. This graphic provides more information on where to start within the scope of the programme, really focusing on reducing consumption of energy and carbon as well as water and production of waste, and building up from there. And as part of this pathway, there are 4 very clear phases for each stage, whether starting at the entry level or higher up. And most hotels are currently at step 1, taking stock, understanding their baseline. Some are already at the next step, which is setting objectives on where they want to focus. We at Considerate very much endorse the framework and help all our clients with every single step of the way. We help collect data and establish baselines. We create an understanding of the status quo and the road ahead, and we help set individual objectives for each hotel company, always taking local regulations and compliance into consideration. And then we create action plans, and we break these action plans down into very clear plans for each individual department within a hotel, as these are common objectives and should never just be left up to one person to achieve. We're trying to ensure collective buy-in and making sure that collective buy-in can then feed back to the overall goal of the hotel or the asset owner. And last but not least, we put together reports which allow a very clear review of progress and are a transparent tool of communication for all stakeholders. As it is key for all stakeholders, owners, operators, brands and guests to join in on this journey in a collective effort. The World Travel and Tourism Council has also launched a very good but basic 12-step programme for hotels to follow when starting their journey. And for those hotels wanting to ensure that they tick all the basic boxes when commencing their pathway to net positive, it also offers a few more concrete action points. Another consideration when looking for a framework is to apply for a sustainability certification. And again, this touches on some of the area covered by the last panel. And this has been the benefit of demonstrating progress, providing a framework. A certification can be added to your website and marketing materials to show progress on your sustainability journey, and also provides a focus to your activities and what you're doing. And certification and accreditation is, of course, voluntary, but it can provide a clear list of actions and requirements. And as I just mentioned, it results in a tangible output that helps demonstrate progress to stakeholders. And by achieving certification, you'll undoubtedly improve your ESG performance and should see tangible cost savings alongside reductions in waste. However, this does beg the question, which certification offers best value and which should I go for? And there are many, many sustainability certifications available, some of which apply to tourism or hospitality specifically, others apply to buildings or real estate, and some are far more generic. So there is a jungle out there, and part of our offering is to help understand what the options are and what's most viable for you. The right certification may depend on what type of hotel you are, where you're based, and how high you want to aim. And luckily, there is help to support you and narrow down the list. For instance, GSTC recognises 35 of those certifications. Google lists another 29, and Booking.com highlights 45. So that is a way of narrowing down some of the certification opportunities. We also provide analysis of our own. So for business travel, certifications are very much a requirement these days in most RFP processes. But they also allow a certain peace of mind for independent travellers. So there is a jungle of certification, and we have laid out some of the most well-known and internationally recognised ones here for you. And we help hotels achieve a range of certifications. We don't dictate which they should go for. We help them decide what is most relevant to them, assisting them to establish the process to become certified. And this is a core part of our offering at Considerate. So I'd be delighted to try to answer any questions you might have on certifications afterwards. So, to quickly wrap up, how can Considerate help you and your hotel? We work with our clients to build and rapidly embed an ESG strategy with clear goals rooted in brand identity and values. You'll find that we approach this by providing clear and practical steps, and everything we do is objective and, where possible, data-led. So we'll help you navigate the confusion of choices in the ESG world. And I list below some of our consult services. And as I mentioned earlier, supporting you to achieve your desired certification is a core part of our offering. And these are just some of those that we regularly apply and advise on. Wonderful. Well, that's me. That's the formal part of this session over. I've now got time for questions if there are any, or I'll be in the lounge afterwards if anybody cares for a one-on-one conversation. Thank you very much for listening and for your time.